What we're going to do tonight is we're going to take an ordinary t-shirt pattern, and I'm going to be using my Fit Nice pattern top, just my t-shirt pattern from Judy Kessinger's Fit Nice system. But you can use any t-shirt pattern that you like or that fits you well, that you've made before, and you have, so you want to make sure you start with a good fit. And I'm going to start with a knit. Now you could also make this dress in a woven, but we're just going to do a knit for tonight. So you have to decide what you want it to look like. What I want mine to look like is just an ordinary t-shirt. I don't want regular sleeves. I'm just going to make little cap sleeves, and we'll do that in, I think, next week. So you also decide if you want it to have a waistline. If you want to dart it, you can. You could also decide if you want to split it down the front. Oh yeah, so this one I just want it to be an ordinary straight sheath. I may decide to put darts in it on the front, princess darts on the front and back after I get it done, but I can make that decision later. But right now, and I just want it to be straight, so I want it to have slits on the side, so I can walk around it and be comfortable. And this is just a hang around the house thing because I don't like to go out with dresses. I have really hideous legs. I don't like anyone to see them, so I almost always wear pants. So anyway, what you want to do is I'm going to just show you here just a little bit of planning here. So first of all, you want to make sure you have a t-shirt that fits you well through the bust and through the hips. Make sure those measurements are right and that you can get it on and off, because we're not going to put in a zipper in this dress. It's going to be a knit, so we're going to make this one out of a knit, so it's not going to have a zipper or a button front or anything like that. So you want to be able, you got something that can go on and off easily. So, okay, let's go over to this drawing board. This is my master pattern from the Fit Nice system, and with this pattern, the front and back are the same. Okay. And, oops, I didn't mark. There's the mark for my waist. Okay. So, this is, I don't know if you can see the whole thing on camera. I don't think you can. This one, the front and the back are pretty much the same. The neckline is different. Otherwise, it's one piece. Okay, so let's talk about the bodice here. So, let's see if I can draw this. I'm a horrible drawer. Let's see, here's a neckline. Yeah, see, I'm doing real good. Okay. Now, first of all, you have to decide if I want it to one piece. What I want to do is measure between the shoulder seam and the floor. So what helps to do that is to get one of these great big long 120-inch measuring tape. How much fabric you need. So how much you're going to need depends on how big you are and what you're looking for. So if I want it to be a one-piece sheath, I want to take this 120-inch thing because I want to just see how much fabric I need. Now, if you can cut this t-shirt, if you're using 60 wide fabric, and if you're using 60 wide fabric like this, if you can get this, long on one width. So if you can get a front on one width and the back, so like 60 inches, I can cut that fabric right down the center, fold half of it and get the front, fold the other half and get the back. Then you only need to have one length, and the measurement you will need is you're going to take, I don't know if I'm in the picture or not because I can't see it. So at the shoulder seam, you're going to make this sort of, throw it out there and step on it right around your heel. Hold it pretty tight. You want this to come up over your bust because we're just guessing how much fabric we need. So I'm just stepping on it with my toes, standing pretty straight, because that now when I'm stepping on it with my feet, that's going to allow me at least a 1 or 2 inch hem. So I can take this measurement, okay, and it's 54 inches. And so I'm probably going to add 3 inches for the hem, like 3 maybe for the seam allowance at the top. That should give me enough. So I know I would be able to make a dress if it's 60 inches wide, since I can get front and back from the same length. Then I know I can with 60 inches of fabric, which is, I don't know what that is. That's, let's see, 36 and yard and 2/3, I can get a dress. Plus whatever length you want for your sleeves, because you can get sleeves out of one length, which for me is another maybe 7 or 8 inches if I'm doing short sleeve. If you're doing long sleeves, you're going to measure, because it'll be this length plus sleeve to get your length. So here's your fabric. If it's 60 inches wide, and you could fold this in half and this in half and get, say this is my fold. I'll just pretend these are the folds. This is usually what I do. I'm just guessing that's where the fold is. You would fold that in, and then you would draw, let's see if I can, that would be the front. Okay, and then you would get the other one out of the other half. You know, this would be this would be cut in half this way. This would be, I would use like 57 inches or 54 inches. So if this length is 57 inches, plus I need another maybe 10 inches for the sleeve, I can get away with buying 67 inches worth of fabric, and then I should have everything, okay, that I need. So if you can do that, but if you have 45 inches wide, or you're a little larger than would fit this setup, then you're going to need 2 lengths of whatever this is. So it would be 114 plus 10 inches. So then you would need 124 inches of fabric to make the dress, because then you would be able to make a front out of the whole piece and a back out of the whole piece. Now, on this pattern, here's my waist, about where my waist is. So what I want to do is I would cut my t-shirt pattern and say this is my normal t-shirt pattern. Okay, it would end here. I would extend this out to all the way to the end. So I would cut here, and then I would start at the waist and just simply draw all the way down to the end of the fabric where I don't have any more fabric left, and then I can always fix the hem. You know, I'm going to fix the length when I get to the hem anyway, but I don't want it, you know, 20 inches too long, which is what happens with commercial patterns. They're usually at least 10 to 15 inches too long, which means you can't even try it on comfortably because it's way too much fabric and you end up wasting a lot. Okay, so now if I wanted a bodice, in other words, I wanted this skirt to be separate, say I wanted to make this a fuller skirt than what I have, then I could have this more, this is where I would cut it, leave a 5/8 inch seam where the waist is, then I would cut this, and then I would cut a separate skirt, and you can use any skirt pattern to attach to that. What I like about splitting it is because then I can go ahead and take this in, I can put a belt on it, I can put elastic around the waist, and it'll just look a little nicer. So anyway, so here's my pattern, and I've decided I want to scoop. So here's what my piece looks like. And what I did was I came to here, and then I just put this out the full width of the fabric, whatever width I had. You can always take in, you can't take out. Make it too big, it's easier to take it in. Okay, and then with the Judy Kessinger system, the front and the back are the same piece with a little bit of a modification. So this would be my back, and if I fold this down, this would be my regular neckline, you know, for a t-shirt neckline. I wanted to do a skirt, I wanted to do a new scoop neck, so I cut it here, and then even after I tried it on, I even dropped it some more. So anyway, what I did was I cut it out. I'll just put this away because we'd be done with that. What I do to my pieces is I simply serge, because I'm going to sew it on the sewing machine. And yes, you can sew knits on a sewing machine with no problem, provided that pattern fits you. Now, if you like, you can always go back to your serger and use a chain stitch in order to secure the seam, so if you feel it's going to stretch too much and pop. I don't normally do that for a normal knit. I may do that with a lycra or a four-way stretch that's super stretchy. This stuff is just cheap stuff from Joann's. Okay? So I have just serged. I have serged around, I've serged everything but the hem and the neckline. So I've done the sleeves, arms, I've done down the seams. I've done the shoulder seams. I have not done the neckline. Okay, so I'm going to sew my neckline together 5/8 inch. Okay, so then we're going to try it on. And yes, I'm going to try it on over my clothes. It's okay. Okay, so I don't know if you can see me. I hope you can. So don't try your things on inside out, because you're just, nobody's body is symmetrical one side to the other. So because if you try it on inside out, you're going to make the fitting issues even worse. So here's my front, and I'm going to try it on. And this is with the new neckline that I cut. And I'm not in front of a mirror, so I'm just guessing that I have this right. Okay, I do like the way that is. It's not too low, because remember, it's going to come down another 1/2 inch. And I'm going to check to make sure. And I usually will do this in a mirror. All right, where's the other end? And you would just sort of finger close your side seams, make sure it all is going to fit. And it does. It's going to fit. It's going to fit me through the hips. No problem. I'm ready to sew my neckline. Okay. So, now to do the neckline. I'm just doing an ordinary scoop. I'm not going to do a Chanel, well, not quite a Chanel neckline. Chanel neckline, if you look at Judy Kessinger, means that you're taking your neckline piece and it will be straight. You would sew it and then you would come up, wrap it, stitch in the ditch. What we're going to do instead is we are going to sew it right sides together, and I'm going to pull this all the way to the back and then take a cover stitch and stitch it down and then trim the excess away. So, but how do I do that? Okay, so let me find the necklines. Here they are. Okay, I'm going to put this together. One thing about it being a dress, you've got too much fabric to deal with. And this is very slinky, annoying fabric, as is a lot of these slinky knits. Okay, here, I'll put the iron, stay there, don't come off the table. Okay, and then I'm going to put this neckline together. Okay, you're putting center front, center back. And this is wanting to fall on the floor. There we go. Just hold it there to keep it from going off. Then you're going to take your tape measure, okay? You're going to stand it on end and measure this opening. Don't do it this way, do it this way. And being that I don't want to do math, I just fold this in half. Okay, this tells me that I have to do a 26-inch neckline. So I'm going to take away 1 inch, 25. So this is what I'm going to cut my strip on here. And I had stretched it out because the first time I measured it, it was only 24 and a half, or 25 and a half. So it stretched a little bit. So I've cut, Judy says to put 3 inches. I find 3 inch too much fabric to deal with. So I've cut about 1.5 inch strip. And I'm going to cut it. Okay, it was 25 and a half inches, so I'm going to go to 24 and a half inches. And I have cut my neckline strip. Guess what? You do the same thing as if you are measuring for your arm's eye. Say I wanted this to be sleeveless, and I didn't want it to have, and I wanted a Chanel or just a face neckline or a sleeve. Same thing. You measure this. Again, take 1 inch away. So you would again measure it like this. Whoop, wrong end. If you don't have a 120 inch tape measure, it really is helpful, especially if you're a quilter, because then you can also use this for measuring your quilts and your borders and everything without having to. Okay, so it's 21 inches. Each arm size 21 inches, so I would cut 2 strips 20 inches if I was going to make this sleeveless, but I'm not. So move that out of the way now, because we're done. Okay, so let's go to the machine, and now we can start putting this neckline together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to sew my strip together, right sides together. And I'm going to sew it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here's 1/2 inch. Whoops. Folded it funny. And I'm just using a straight stitch, and I don't think you have to back tack. I'm going to make maybe a 2 millimeter long stitch and just sew it straight. Okay. And you could press or just finger press it open. And if you like, if this is very rolly, rolls all over the place, which can be annoying. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, set it down. I could heat set it if I want to. I'm not necessarily going to do it now. So heat set it down and it won't move on you. So now I'm going to take some pins. I'm going to divide this into 1/8. You really, if you're really confident, you really only need to do quarters. I'm not, especially not online. And I'm only going to leave it single. I'm not going to double this. Okay, and there's quarters. And then I'm just going in between the quarters here. And these are just, you could just mark them, but I'm just going to use the pins. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to my neckline. I'm going to divide this into 1/8, and I'm going to start with center front and center back. Okay, I am not going to do shoulder seam, because shoulder seam is not necessary, because you want this even all the way around, not just Because if you use the shoulder seams as one of your quarters, then what's going to happen is you're going to have it loose on the back, flaring out at your neck behind you, and it's going to be too gathered in the front. It won't look good. So I'm taking my center front and my center back together, matching up these raw edges, and you see where the other part of it go. There it is. This is not, the shoulder seam is not dividing that into quarters. And then here's, and I'll go in between, find the halfway point between center front, and see, that's nowhere near that shoulder. And again, also, if this shoulder's making you nuts, just glue it down. I'm just gonna put a dab of glue, and then I won't have to worry about it popping out of the way and getting stuck and turning and doing icky things. Okay, again. And you want to hold this gently. You don't want to stretch this because it's pretty vulnerable. If this were a woven, I would have stay stitched the neckline. But it's not. It's a knit, so I am not going to stay stitch the neckline. Or if I were putting in a collar, I would stay stitch the neckline. So here's the back. And now I'm going to put it right sides together with the back. Here. And I'm going to pin it in. Then work my way around. Match up this pin to this pin. And see, it's a little bigger. That's okay. The neckline is bigger than the band, and that's exactly what I need. Okay, I will continue around. This is flimsy t-shirt fabric, that's for sure. But I like polka dots. It's very Betty Boop. Okay. Okay, now my pins are all matched up and I'm ready to sew it together. Okay, I'm going to start at that back, center back seam. Okay, get this lump of fabric straightened out some. It's gotten out of control here. Alright, center back. And I want a 1/2 inch seam. My 1/2 inch is right here, so that's the mark I'm going for. And I'm just going straight. Now I hold it, give it a few stitches, then hold your next pin together and stretch out the top, which is your band, until it matches up. And sew to the next pin. Don't worry about what else is going on. Don't sew through the pin. That's not a good thing. Oops. Put that on until it's dried up. I don't have to back tack because I'm just going over that seam again. Okay, good to go. Alrighty. There, that's sewn, because now I didn't set up the serger, so I'm just going to baste it for now, because then I will go over to my cover stitch machine and cover stitch this down. So I'm going to lengthen that stitch length because I'm going to go back again. Again, I'm going to start at that center back. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Of course, right at the end. Okay, right here. Okay, I'm just going to baste it for now, but if I had the other machine threaded up, and I'm going to have to do this at work because I broke my serger earlier today. Broke the door right off of it. I was like, oh, it cracked and it broke, so I can't use it right now. That's why we're going to do this on here, and then I'll call Justin in the morning and see if he's got a new door for me. We might even have one at work, so that's an easy replacement. So I want a bigger stitch than that. A nice big stitch. And I don't need pins for this. Just need all this fabric out of here. But this, I would do a cover stitch. In fact, I'm going to do a cover stitch. I'll just take it to work and do it Saturday morning. I'll do it. Okay, so I'm just simply taking this strip, the band that I had before, and just wrapping it around. Single layer, like it's a facing. It's wanting to roll on me. I could take this to the iron and press it. But I'm not going to. But you get the idea here. This is versus, well, wait a minute. If I were making this a Chanel trim, what I would do is this. This is it. I start it the same way, but instead of it rolling it all the way to the back like that, and I'm just basting it here because I'm going to put that on the cover stitch machine and finish it. What I would do instead is I would leave this up, and I would just fold this around and then stitch in the ditch, or use the cover stitch, either way. And see, now you would have a banded edge, but this wouldn't look good with that fabric. So now, could I take a plain black or plain white knit or red, whatever, you know, you can just make it sassy and change up your colors and everything. You could. It's a knit, so therefore I'm really not having to clip my curves. You could, if it's giving you too much of a hassle, by all means, clip your curves. If you don't need to, you don't have to. Mostly because this is a very, very stretchy, understated. Really, it's very stretchy. Okay, are we almost to the other side? No. Scoop is a fairly big neckline. And a lot of times I will glue it down. That way I have a whole lot less problems. And I'll put on the end of the ironing board and glue everything nice and flat, and hey, nothing's bunched, nothing is flipping over to the other side. It all behaves nicely. And you also can see the whole thing is if the bulk is giving you a hassle. We're almost at the end. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to pull some of this out and put it on the ironing board to get it nice and flat. See how that wants to flip up? Once it's cover stitch, I trim that off. It'll be fine, and you have a really nice. You have a nice neckline. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, and it'll be the last thing I'm going to do today, is I would baste the side seams together. Baste them together. Try the dress on. Make any adjustments. If you decide you want darts, like say it's really baggy in through the under the bust and into the waist and it really looks terrible, then you can try and get this over here. See, you would try it on. Right side, well, here, I'll do it on this side. I'm not going to really put darts in it until I try it on and see how it looks. Here. And say you want your darts, you would pin it. Pin your darts in. Use a lot of pins, and if you like, you can, and if you double it twice. And a lot of times, if it's bothering you, use safety pins. Pin it with your safety pins. Let's just say this is my dart. And I haven't tried it on, so I don't know if it's, and this would be at my waist, the normal stuff. Okay. And then I would just determine that if I wanted the darts, the waist darts or not. It's up to you. It's your dress. And it's going to depend on the fabric. Some fabrics it's going to look baggy and yucky, and other ones it'll look just nice. And really, until you get to the fabric, you don't know. Okay, say there's my dart. Okay, so to mark this dart, you would turn it on the back. Like I said, you're pinning it from the outside, right sides out. Because if you're pinning this, if you're turning it inside out, and yes, it would be easier to sew it if you were doing your darts. If you had it turned inside out, like this, and you pinned it, well, you wouldn't have to do anything else because it's already ready to go. But you're fitting the opposite side of the body. And both sides of the body are not symmetrical. And I'll bet you even Cindy Crawford and all these models, theirs isn't right either. Okay, and then you can take, my favorite is these chocolate liners, and they come in different colors, and just simply mark it where the pins come together. Put extra marks in. I'd say, here's the tip of my dart. So you always want to mark where your tip of your dart is. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, we'll use this. Yeah, you can see the purple. And it'll go away anyway. Okay, I'm marking where those pins are. So you just spread the fabric apart, and you can feel where those pins are together. You just mark both sides of it. And then this would be, say, the bottom of my dart. Okay? Because now you can remove these pins. More, two more. Okay, and you can see the shape of your dart. Can you see that? Here, I'll draw it. It's hard to see. And a lot of times this is going to be easier to draw if you put a piece of sandpaper underneath. We don't have a piece of sandpaper. Put a piece of sandpaper underneath and okay, and now see the dart? Okay, now you just put it together. Take your pins, you fold it in half, take your your pins and start making sure you're getting both sides of the line, and then sew it. So it's not that hard to fit to the wrong side of your body. Okay, so here's a mark here. Here's a mark here. Here's the mark on the other side. Pin it. And let's see, I'll just do one more, but you get the, I'm not going to sew this because this is obviously not fitted. See, there's the other side of the line. Pin it together. Then you would sew along the line. Easy peasy. Now that's how you could get your darts in really nice. When you try it on, you want to determine how high up you want the slit to go on the side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the rest of this, and I will get to the sleeves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish sewing this off camera, and then next week we'll work on the sleeves, and I'll show you what we've done so far with the dress. So anyone have any questions? Marianne asked if I put anything in the shoulder seam. No, I did not. I could. If this were super, super stretchy, if this was like a sweater knit or a lycra, you know, a 4-way stretch knit, and I don't think it's a 4-way, is it? Yeah, it is a 4-way. I can still go back and do that, by the way. If you have a stretchy neck fabric, and you're afraid of these shoulders eventually pulling down and down and, whoa, pulling down and down till they're like here, then what you can do is you can go ahead and serge in or stitch in clear elastic, or a piece of selvage, or something that is not going, or ribbon, whatever that will keep that seam from stretching. So silk dress, what does she call it? Dressmaking stuff. What do they call them? Dressmaking tape. It was like made out of rayon and really, really thin. She used to sew those into her shoulders and her arms eyes so that they wouldn't stretch. What? They were very, very stretchy, and it was very easy to fold. It didn't make bulk to the seam. So yes, you could. I did not, because this is just for hanging around. Linda Wilson asked if my strip was bias. No, it is cut on the greatest amount of stretch in your fabric. So, like, this is a 4-way. Probably wouldn't matter which way, because it stretches this way, but it stretches even more this way. So I just cut a strip out of the cross grain to where it's very stretchy. If I were using woven, you could use bias. Take a bias strip, or heck, I have lots of scraps of this kind of fabric, so I even put this stuff on woven fabrics to use as my facing sometimes, so I don't have to cut and go all with the, no, I don't want to do that. I've gotten lazy in my old age. Mitzi asked, where is the pattern for this? This is from the Knit Fit Nice system, the pattern that I used. And it's hard to say, to see this because it's backwards, but it's the Fit Nice pattern. We have it's the top master top pattern. If you go to fitnicesystem.com, or just Google in Judy Kessinger, Kessinger, and I'll put a link in the Facebook comments as soon as we get off the air, that you can purchase the pattern. And she's actually got videos that show you how to do the basics, and it's very good. She also has a lot of online classes, and she's the master. She's the absolute master. And so she has 2 books out. This one is called Design It Yourself, the Fit Nice Workbook, which has, it's backwards, but it's got literally all kinds of variations. I literally have not bought another pattern since I started this, 8 years ago. So anyway, you guys have a great evening. Happy sewing, and keep busy. Love you guys. Bye. Oh, if you have any questions, email me at waltzquilt, that's WALTZQUILT @yahoo.com. 2 things I do the most were ballroom dancers, and Viennese waltz is my favorite dance. And I love to quilt. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.